let's dive into a shamanic journey. What do we need to know in advance, and what do we need to be aware of?
So I guess the first thing I would say is there's no reason to have fear. Mm-hmm. There's nothing really that can happen that's going to be bad. That is, of course, you have to follow the advice and the directions. And this is where the discipline comes in. You have to have the discipline to follow through, to move all the way through. And you also have to, how would I put this? It's going to, for many, many people coming out of a highly analytic, data-driven world that we all live in, this modern, as you said, chase your tail world. For many of us, it's going to feel like we're just making it up. Like, how do you determine that this is quote unquote real as opposed to just something I'm imagining or something that you, Judah, have primed me for by talking about it? And so now I'm imagining it no different than somebody shows me a photo and it slowly becomes a memory of mine and I can't tell the difference. And what I would say is that's okay. If you feel like you're just imagining it, imagination is hugely powerful, hugely incredible. Imagination is somewhere we don't allow ourselves to go. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have to necessarily feel like, oh my God, I've been transported to another universe. It's like in the Matrix again, in the first one, when he takes the red pill and he touches the mirror and it sort of becomes liquid. Like, that doesn't have to happen in order for you to have a journey. You're going to always be in the room. You're going to feel the floor against your body. You're going to hear the drum or the rattle. It's not that you disappear into 1,000 pieces or something like that. And so to hold back those expectations is one of the key elements, and just see what happens. Just go and see what happens. Another piece is that there are very clear directions to be given around. You're going to go in a very specific way and follow that way and follow the directions that are given to you. And then when you come back, you're going to come back exactly the same way. And this is done because you can get lost and there's no reason to. And so by literally kind of Hansel and Gretel or Theseus with the ball of string in the labyrinth, you leave yourself a trail in and then you leave yourself a trail out. And it's just the disciplined, smart way to do it. These are very powerful places that we are going, and they're not to be trifled with. As a side note, right now we have a kind of an ayahuasca craze going on in certain parts of our culture, and a lot of people are just going and doing it, and a lot of people are starting to lead these. And first of all, in traditional cultures, only the shamans would take these trips. Like, this wasn't something that everybody was offered to do. And one of the reasons was because shamans were trained. They were trained in how to engage in these other realms. And so one of the things that is remarkable for me about a shamanic practice and the journey is you start to gain great facility with your guides and in being in these other realms. And it becomes second nature to you to check in with your guides, to move into non-ordinary reality. And taking something like ayahuasca is sort of just dropping you deep, many, many layers deep into non-ordinary reality to see what's going on. And it's very important to have guides that you know who live there. It's very important to have very clear intention about what you're going to do when you dive into this world and what you're going to see. And so the rise of the experimentation with these experiences without the discipline of building a sense of what you're doing there is something I think people should be very careful about. And so if you're hearing about people taking these journeys and things and you're interested, I would very much support the idea that you build a shamanic practice for yourself first, then go in. Sorry, side note.
But an important and a good one. A real minor thing, because I know time-wise we need to jump in.
Oh, yes.
When you say get lost, coming out, and not to be trifled with, what's the Cliff Notes version of what you mean or why?
So if you remember earlier, I talked about how shamanic cultures across the globe talk about a lower world, an upper world, and a middle world. And that the lower and upper world have nothing but compassionate beings where you can find guides and learn about yourself and heal. The middle world, however, is very much like our world. There are people who are very compassionate and open and caring and mean all the best for you. And you might encounter some beings, some energies that don't necessarily mean the best for you, that might be up to no good. From a compassionate point of view, they're trying to heal themselves. They might be stuck for different reasons, but still they can get all up in your business, and not in a good way. And part of what learning the shamanic practice is to learn how to be with your guides and then engage some of those beings that you find, which is where a lot of healing happens. But when you're just starting out, you don't necessarily need to run into T-Rex as you're first jumping into Jurassic Park. And so the idea is that by following a path into the lower world or upper world, and then following that same path out, you do not go to the middle world, and therefore you protect yourself as you've got your training wheels on and you're taking your first baby steps into all of this.
Very cool. Thank you. So for those not driving a car, if you're driving a car, let's do this way later. Can you guide us through this?
I can. So this is going to be without the sound driver. So what I would suggest is, and you can find these on YouTube, you type in shamanic drumming or shamanic rattling, and you'll find tons of videos where it's just a consistent drum beat or a consistent rattle, but you're going to want to use something like that. So if you can, if you're listening, lie down. If you're not comfortable lying down, you can put a pillow down. If you're not comfortable lying down, you can sit up. It's fine. You're going to close your eyes, and we're going to go to the lower world, and you're going to go with the intention of trying to find a guide in animal form. And I want to be very clear, this is not necessarily, quote unquote, a power animal. There are such things as power animals, but you don't necessarily, that's not like the only type of guide there is. It's sort of a popularized thing that's happened that you can get a necklace of. But you're just going to look for a guide in animal form, and that is it. And the lower world can look like anything. So even though you're going down, it doesn't look like it's underground per se. It can look exactly like this world. It can look like the sky. It can look like Mars. It can be in the middle of space. Like the lower world can look like anything. And I want you to think about somewhere that you've been on the earth that you know really well. It can be a cave or a bottom of a tree or a hole in the ground or a body of water, but somewhere that you really are familiar with, somewhere that really, like, you know it anchors you. And what you're going to do is and I will talk you through this, but what you're going to do is you're going to go into the water, into the cave, down the hole, and you're just going to keep going down, 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 down until it'll stop, and you might end up in a big open cavern. You might end up back out in the air. You might end up walking down some kind of tunnel. You don't know. And then eventually you're going to realize, like, you're here. You're in this lower world, whatever it looks like to you. And when you do, just start looking around. Just see what you see what comes up. And at some point, there might be an animal that comes by. And just ask it, are you my guide in animal form? That's it. That's all you're doing. You're just saying, are you my guide in animal form? And then it might say yes. It might say no. It might shake its head yes or no. It might do something more telepathic where you just kind of know. It might dance. It could do any number of things. You want to keep your senses open to all possible means of communication. Because sometimes, even though I'm saying search for a guide in animal form, you might get a guide that's a purple blob of light. Some people, that's how they engage in this. You might get a guide that's just a blowing of the wind, or a flower. It's literally whatever is speaking to you. And none of these things should you ascribe meaning to from an outside source. They mean something to you, and that's what's important. That's what matters. And if you meet a guide or you ask, are you my guide? And they say no, it's okay. Just move on. See what else happens. You may meet a guide. You may not. If you do meet a guide, you can just hang out with it. Get a feel for it. See what it's like. And then what will happen is, because we're talking through this, I'll just sort of tell Michael to stop the drum. And that will be the callback. And then just start, what I'll have you do, Michael, is just start drumming at a slightly different rhythm, like a little faster. And when you start hearing that, just bid goodbye to your guide and then come back exactly the way you came. Just follow the exact same route and then come all the way back to exactly that point on the earth that you know really well. And the drumming will stop and you'll be back. And I'll be talking you through the whole way. And so I would say 5 minutes of drumming. Does that sound doable?
Whatever you'd like.
Okay. So everybody just lie down or sit up, close your eyes. Go to that place on the earth that you know really well, whether it's a body of water or the bottom of a tree or a cave or a hole. And now just start going down. Start going down through the water, down into the cave, down under the tree, down into the hole. And just allow yourself to keep going down and to just see what happens. And you're going down, and maybe you've come to a stop. Maybe you've gone through a more narrow space. Maybe you've landed in a wholly new place, or you're walking down through the cave still. And it's possible that you've entered into Central Park. It's possible that you've entered onto a cloud. It's possible that you're in a forest. It's possible that you're still underground. And all of these can be the lower world. And again, there's no right way to do this. There's no wrong way to do this. You're just sort of going down and seeing what happens. And now you're telling yourself, I am going to the lower world to see my guide in animal form. And now, wherever you may be, just start looking around and see what you see. Are there animals? Are there trees? Is the sun out? And if an animal happens to come by, feel free to ask it, are you my guide in animal form? It might say yes or no. It might nod its head. It might start dancing. It might tell you in some telepathic way. And if you haven't seen an animal, just keep wandering around. If you see something else that you feel might be your guide, feel free and ask it, are you my guide? If you have found something that appears to be your guide, just sit down with it, get a feel for it, let it take the lead. It might run with you or dance with you. It might bite you. Almost everything a guide does is a lesson to us about our reaction to it. Feel free to keep wandering, coming upon a different animal and asking, are you my guide in animal form? And again, your guide might be a flower or a tree. You might come upon a blob of light. It's okay. Just ask, are you my guide? And if you have not found a guide, that is okay too. It can take people a number of journeys to start finding their guides. And if you're thinking to yourself, this is nonsense, I'm just imagining it, again, that's perfectly okay as well. And feel free to keep exploring. Or if you have found a guide, feel free to sit quietly with it. Just notice what happens. Notice how it feels to sit with your guide. Notice how it feels to be in the lower world. If you have not found a guide, you can notice your reaction. Do you feel like you've done something wrong? Are you being critical of yourself? Are you growing anxious? Have you found it difficult to stay focused and in the lower world? Do you keep spacing out or almost falling asleep? Okay, Michael, and stop. Everybody, just take a moment. We're going to come back now. If you have not found a guide, that's perfectly okay. Just take a look around at the lower world that is yours. If you have found a guide, say thank you in whatever way you'd like. Say goodbye in whatever way you'd like. You can come back at any time to visit the guide. And now Michael's going to start drumming a little faster, and I will talk you all back. Okay, go. And so now just turn around and start coming back the way that you came. Follow the same exact path. You don't have to remember every single detail, but you're just following in general that same path back into the underground of the earth, or back into the water, back up through the cave, back up to the tree. And you're just following that same path all the way back up until you find yourself sitting back at that spot that you know so well, back in the earth. Just follow your way straight back and up, and then just hang out there. And stop. All right. And now, whatever your journey may have been, it can usually be a very good idea to write it down, to keep a journal. It's the same journal you might keep your dreams in, because you'll start to find, if you do create a journey practice, that your dreams and your journey start to meld, start filling up. They start sort of vibing off each other. And my advice to everyone is, if this spoke to you, if this was powerful for you, find a teacher. Shamanism is not much of a do-it-yourself kind of engagement. Teachers can be incredibly helpful and powerful in this. And again, I just got to give props to my Isa Gucciardi, who just has been remarkable for me as a teacher and a guide in all of this.
I like to give thank you so much. And I'm going to be replaying and probably replay again. We like to always give people a homework assignment and to help them improve their lives. What would a homework assignment regarding this be?
Honestly, I would say, first of all, if it spoke to you, because there are so many modalities into these worlds, and so shamanism isn't the one for you, totally cool. But the homework assignment would be, I think, do a little research and find a teacher. Because these are not, as I've said before, these are not realms to be taken lightly or to be trifled with. And they're powerful, and they're remarkable, and they're incredibly healing, and they're incredibly, I believe, necessary for the world. And the more of us that kind of reconnect our own selves to our souls, and from that place of being more inhabited in ourselves, our ability to connect to the earth and bring that energy forth, the better the world is. There are so many ways to go wrong in that very well-intentioned journey. that having a wise and experienced outside perspective of a teacher is absolutely essential. So the homework would be find yourself a teacher in order to be guided in gaining this discipline.
Fantastic. A few quick wrap-up questions. We were talking about kids being disconnected earlier. Jessica, my wife, she always likes me to ask a question for parents and kids. What about getting our kids into this?
Totally. Kids can absolutely, you can find little kids, their animal guide that can always be with them and help them when they're feeling alone, help them when they're feeling disconnected. Introducing children to this mindset that the earth is alive and that we, or they as children, are deeply connected into it and can engage it is a hugely powerful gift to give to a child before they're told that, oh no, that's all just magic and nonsense. And they can kind of stay with it and truly cultivate it in themselves in an organic way.
If you put kids on the ground and they're playing with sticks, they're playing with stones, they're connected, engaged in a way that we, just like you were saying at the beginning, we forget about.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to sort of allow them to keep that is a wonderful thing.
Fantastic. So where can people go to find out more, to find out about you, and to find your book as well?
To learn more about shamanism, I'm going to give it up to Issa right now and just say sacredstream.org, spelled like you would assume, is a wonderful place to go. There are it's based in San Francisco, but there are teleclasses and all kinds of other things. That is a place that I would definitely tell you to start looking at. You can also take a look at certain books to just sort of get a feel for it. But again, I hesitate to even give titles because I'm so focused on the idea of having a teacher to really guide you through this. You can go to judahpollack.com. That's JUDAHPOLLACK, where you can find out about the book. There's also the butterfly.net, which is the website for the book, The Net and the Butterfly. Or just go to Amazon for The Net and the Butterfly, and you can find it there. It's interesting because so many books that have caught the imagination of people, whether it's 100 Years of Solitude and the magical realism movement, or The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, these books they're coming out of a shamanistic worldview. And there's something that they're tapping into that people are hearing, even though they don't necessarily know. And I kind of feel like it's shamanism is sort of it's a rainstorm that comes down on the parched earth of our soul, and our souls are very parched in the world that we live in. And so again, it's not for everybody, but for some people, it's a saving grace to discover that, oh, this is another way to actually be in the world.
I'm going to explore it. I want to dive down this rabbit hole. I'm very, very, very excited we had you on today, and I want to learn more about it. There's a reason that we have the drums in this house.
Absolutely. I've got 4, but they're over there.
Very cool. And any last words of wisdom you want to share with people today?
Everything is knowable. And everything can be healed. Yeah.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Thank you so much for being on the show, Judah. This has been a true honor and a treat, and I am so, so glad that you offered the opportunity to come back for this.
Thank you, Mike. I'm so glad that you took me up on it, even though it seemed like a little bit different, a little bit strange, and very different from the book that you originally had to talk about. This was wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Excellent, excellent. And we'll have to talk offline sometime about, we've got a beautiful book on automatic writing that we're almost done with the edits in, but I want to talk with you briefly, probably off air, about automatic writing and the brain.
Awesome. Happy to do it.
So thank you so much, Judah. For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get a drum, a teacher, and get busy, and shine bright. Woohoo! Woohoo! Thank you so much, Judah.
Thank you, Michael. I so appreciate it. That was wonderful.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!